Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode. This week, we're going to talk about renewal and restoration. God has been speaking to me a lot about that. Some very profound truths He shared with me. I've been on a renewal journey for a long time, probably decades, where at first it was rough and I didn't want to because it was a lot of work. I had a lot of healing. I came from abuse and trauma. I didn't want to look at it. I didn't want to feel it. I didn't want to cry. Um, but as I understood was that God could actually heal me, and I'm walking, talking proof that He can completely heal you. Now I love renewal because I want to be more of Him, less of myself. And so I'm always like, just rip me open, God, take it out. Rip me open, God, take it out. Rip me open, take it out. So I've been doing that for probably a good 5-6 years. And it wasn't until recently that God reminded me that there's a time for renewal, but there's also a time for restoration. We need that rest. We need to be restored. And it's not just about, I'm going to rest up. It's about Him bringing all your pieces back together again, but in a new way, because He is the creator. And when He restores you, it's not always back to what you were exactly like, but better. So that's why there's a process of first you need to be renewed, which He's really shown me is Holy Spirit fire.
Transformation.
It's literally going to burn you. It's going to burn all those impurities out. You got to get them out. But then when it comes to restoration, it's His living water, because now you have to be washed clean, because now you have all the dirt and the dust and the smoke and the ash from the being purified. It has to be washed away. So in essence, it's like, the thing I always heard was the potter, he puts it into the fire and then it puts it on the shelf. So renewal, restoration, renewal, restoration. But if you keep going renewal, 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 you're going to get to this point where you're just so run down because you're not allowing yourself to rest. You're not allowing for the restoration. And so you may find yourself like, I felt this way 10 years ago, God. This is how I felt 10 years ago when I gave you my life. And then, of course, Satan tries to sneak in there like he always does. And is this really true? Have you really grown? And then you're like, you dismiss him quickly because, yes, I have. I know I'm not the same person. I can look back and go, no, that is not me anymore. But we need that restoration so that He can basically seal us back. He like seals us into what the fire has done. That purification is now sealed into us. And we wash all of the dirt and the smoke away. And we're made white again to prepare ourselves to go through a fire again. It's like a shifting and a lifting. Oh, that's so good. That was him. There's a shifting and a lifting, because you go shifting and burning in the fire and a lifting up to the shelf. That was so good. That was not me.
Good. I also think about the only reason this example came to my mind is because I just boiled some eggs the other day. And, obviously when you boil eggs, it's like boiling hot water. But I recently learned that it's a lot easier to peel the shell off if you immediately pour it into an ice bath, pretty much for the eggs. And so it goes from that super, super hot to, that cool down, like you said, kind of like allowing the eggs to rest. And then the shell comes off a lot easier compared to if you just, take it off and obviously you can't even touch the eggs when it's still in that boiling hot. It's so hot. But I don't know, that example came to my mind too. Like it's just easier, and your life will feel lighter and easier when you go through that process of restoration after that renewal. It's like, okay, He says with me, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. And you only see that through restoration. When He's filling you, He's restoring you. Because obviously you're not feeling that in the fire. I mean, you kind of do, in the sense of like He's carrying you through the fire, but you're feeling all the feels in the fire. He's revealing some things, and it's messy, not pretty. And then we go through this restoration period where we can just be. And it's almost like the process in both senses is very, He does it with so much love and grace, our renewal and our restoration. But I really feel it's really heavy in restoration, because He's like, come here. Like, it's almost like you sit down with your child, you just got done disciplining them. And then you're like, all right, come here. Like, come sit on my lap. Like, let me give you a hug. Like, you want to watch a movie? It's like, okay, let's rest after that, shifting that we just went through. Like, I know you just learned a big lesson. I know that was hard. That was hard for me to have to discipline you in that way and show you those things. But now that we've gone through that, like, let's just rest together. Let's just be together. And that's what I really sense in that restoration period. Like, you get to just be with God and soak in his presence.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And as you're talking, I like the egg thing because that made me think of you're going to wash the heat off.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to cool it back down. um, yeah, and I love that too because when you're even as you're describing that, I'm just seeing myself just like crawling up onto God's lap and like, oh, it just holds me now. That was
Yeah.
hard and it was hot and I'm tired and it burned a little bit and now I just and sometimes that restoration could be tears too. There's a time of
Mm-hmm.
mourning and that process. He taught me that the last year. That mourning I thought was fire, but it's not. It's living water
Mm.
because we're literally the tears are cleansing, and he's allowing that pain to kind of like help heal us. In essence, our tears help heal us, and mourning is necessary. And he was just reminding me the other morning. He's like, Laura, you need to mourn because I just lost a very beloved cat that we've had for like 15 years, and it was really hard to watch. And
Mm-hmm.
so, in essence, watching him go through the things that he went through for the last year because he was sick was fire. And now that he's, in a peaceful place, it's time for restoration. And so part of restoration is that mourning period, and that we need that. We can't just keep shoving ourselves into the fire, which I've been doing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be honest here. I've been in the fire for like a decade because I'm just want so much of God, and I want to know him better and to understand him more, that I've pushed myself to the point where now he is just like, you're done. We're going to sit in restoration now. He's not going to let me do anything but that for a bit. So maybe if you've ever come to a place where you're like, oh, I've been busting my butt for so long, God, and I don't know, things aren't going the way that I thought that they should, then maybe you need to go, wait a minute, maybe I should be in restoration time. It'll make
Mm-hmm.
no sense to your flesh because you might be like, oh my gosh, I've been really super busy and things are just starting to shift, but then you hit a brick wall and you're like, what is going on? Rest. If God is doing you a favor. He's going to do, like, if you heard our last episode, he wants to lift you up higher, but he can't do that from the fire because he's not going to lift up the fire, but he'll put you under a waterfall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think too, what comes to my mind is discomfort and comfort. Discomfort and comfort. We need both. We truly need both. And we need to be uncomfortable in that renewal season. So, like you said, to burn out everything that dishonors God, that doesn't glorify him, that doesn't honor ourselves, the sin, the yuck, the mistakes, the poor self-image or view, like all these things that we have to allow him to burn out, and it's uncomfortable. But then that restoration period is just pure comfort because you're just in his lap, in his arms, and he says, I got you. And you get to just be. And it just makes me think, like you said, mourning is restoration because it is a place of comfort, because he says, blessed are those that mourn. Blessed are those that grieve because they will be comforted. And so that's the verse that immediately came to my mind when you said that, Laurie, that it really is for the restoration period. It's like you have that initial shock of loss and pain and just grievance. It's so hard to navigate loss. But with God, he can bring us comfort. He's the only one that can bring us comfort in the depths of that pain of loss. And so he tells us that we are blessed because he will comfort us. He will meet us there. He will restore our weary souls, our weary hearts. He will restore us and he will rest with us. And That's what we need in order to step into the new season, to step into the next, because we can't operate without being poured back into, without resting, without being with him. Like, we can't function if it's just constant fire, constant fire, constant burnout, burn, burn, burn. Like yes, we're having this all this enlightenment and change and transformation and all these different things. But I've been juggling on going through a lot of renewal too, Laurie. And I went to a Bible study and I saw a friend and I gave her a hug. She was holding my baby for a while and then she came over to me and gave me a hug. And I haven't seen her or spoken to her in several weeks. And just the first thing she said when she hugged me, she said, "I speak rest over you." And it clicked in that moment that, wow, I've been just running in this renewal period of like, just juggling so much in life in general, just schedules, routines, motherhood, work, wife, household, purpose work, all these different things. And also just going through all this transformation with God and enlightening and wisdom and revelation and spiritual transformation. And then there's a time that we just need rest. We just need rest. I just need to be right now. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. And it makes me think too, a couple of things came to my mind was like when you work out really hard and you're sweaty and you're sore but when you get into the shower, it's like the best thing ever.
Yes.
That's kind of like, fire, renewal, restoration. Or, you've been out on a hike and you don't have your water on you and you've walked for like 2 or 3 hours and you finally get to that water and chug it down and it's just so refreshing. That's that same
Nothing
thing. And
compares.
and I'm thinking about that too, and all that, even though I'm not dismissing renewal is amazing and I've done a lot of it, but now when I'm imagining now being able to just sit down, just drink, chug that water, I'm thirsty. It's
Right.
time to just sit and relax and drink that water and be renewed
You
or
need both. And
restored.
it
Yeah.
just kind of shows me another visual here is you really need both because
Mhm.
you won't appreciate that water if you hadn't just done that 3 mile hike in the sun or 10 mile hike in the sun. You won't appreciate it the same. So therefore, if we're not going through seasons of renewal and fire and transformation, we're not going to appreciate rest the way that we should be appreciating rest, the
Mhm.
way that we should be soaking in rest. So, like I've said, I think it's super important that we're kind of going back and forth between these two throughout our sanctifying process in this life. And we need both to truly maximize both, to truly appreciate both seasons.
Mhm. He actually, I think it was yesterday in my journaling, he was reminding me that every night when we sleep should be a small period of restoration.
Yeah.
But because this world has it so distorted and has us so exhausted and running ragged all the time, thinking we have to do everything all of the time, that we're so filled with stress and anxiety and depression and all the things this world weighs on us that we're not getting our restoration every night. We're not getting
Hmm.
it. We're missing out on him. We need him.
Yeah. That's so good. Thank you, Holy Spirit. That was
Right?
really, really powerful. Well, hopefully you guys had some good takeaways from this. No, either whether you're in the season of restoration or the season of renewal, just submit to the Holy Spirit and see, what is it that you have me going through right now? Where is it that you want me to go right now? What do you want me to learn right now? And just awaken to what He has for you in this season. So we thank you guys for tuning in and we look forward to having you on next week.